All right, good day, everybody. Good day. How is everyone doing today? Thank you all for tuning in, whether you are on Facebook or YouTube. It's a pleasure to be here having a discussion with everybody today. Now, I had a little glitch earlier trying to get started, but you know, when something powerful is about to happen, there is always a little bit of confusion. But nonetheless, that wasn't going to stop us at all. All right. Now, what I want you to do for me right now is share out this stream so that every single person can jump in and be a part of this conversation, because it's going to be a good one. It is going to be a good one today. We have with us a very special guest that is going to be speaking with us about issues as it relates to our country, Jamaica. Right? And this is one that every person needs to be a part of. Every single person needs to be a part of this conversation right here. So if you have not shared the stream as yet, please right now share out the stream and invite someone to be a part of this great conversation that we're going to be having today. All right. Now, with us is the leader of the UIC. Right, and I'm going to allow him to break down that for us and tell us what exactly the UIC means when he gets on screen. But I want to remind every single person that is watching this stream right now that this conversation, this platform is one that is going to remain respectful. So it doesn't matter what party you support. It doesn't matter whether you support the UIC, the JLP, the PAP, whatever party you support. I want everybody in the comment section to just remain respectful. You can share your opinions. As long as you keep them respectful, then everything will be fine. All right. So let's have an adult conversation without any disrespect, and it will be good. So we're going to invite the guest to our stream right now, and here he is, Mr. Patterson. How are you doing again, sir?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me on this show. You were cracking up a bit, so I'm not sure what you said, but I think you asked me to introduce myself. Am I correct?
Sure, go right ahead. Just let everyone know who Joseph L Patterson is.
Sure. I love answering questions, to be more specific, but in general, I'm an ordinary Jamaican like everybody else. I was born in Jamaica, 1971. In Kingston, downtown Kingston to be exact, in a pretty rough area, what we'd call an inner city community, to a single mother of three. Four of us live in a one-room, house. Went through all the process of poverty, managed to, pull myself up from the bootstraps, and even though I failed common entrance, 2 times, and technical entrance, I still managed to make it to stats via Spanish Town Secondary, became head boy of both institutions, and president for student council and key club and debating society and quiz team and all of that. And then was able to secure a full scholarship to go to UTech to study engineering, after which I worked as a teacher of engineering, science, mathematics, and physics at Kingston Technical. Having completed that, I got a job with the Jamaica Sugar Company as an engineer. And then I got married to my high school sweetheart, who I met in the 8th grade, and migrated to Canada, where I spent the next several years. And there became a CPA, a chartered professional accountant, built a couple of businesses, sold a few, and rose to director of finance in the government and in the private sector, CEO, CFO. And then came back to Jamaica 10 years ago. Bought some farm property, started farming. You might see the B Suite Jamaica label, that's ours. And getting involved in the Jamaican community again and understanding the plight of the people, the challenges of the country, and recognizing that the 2 major parties have really failed us. After 77 years now, they have not really improved the key indicators of any great country, and Jamaica is a great country with lots of potential. So I formed the UIC we had a launch in 2015 December, and from there on we went through the battle of eventually dealing with the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, a partisan body that tries to prevent small parties from existing. We battled them and won after 10 months of intense fights with them, and so we became Jamaica's 3rd officially registered party on December 7th, 2019. And here we are today after that.
Wonderful. So before the UIC, you were never aligned with politics at all?
No, I was never aligned. When I was a child, my mother, she was quite an activist in the PNP, so she was really very active in the PNP. So I grew up seeing what happens in politics, especially from the standpoint of a poor woman, single mother being involved in that. She carried me everywhere. So I went to the women's movement stuff. I went to the arenas. You might see an old picture of Michael Manley, and you'll see me in his arm in that picture. It became pretty famous at the time on brochures and stuff. I mean, I didn't understand any of what was going on, but I paid attention. So from 7 years old, I was, seeing a lot of politics, seeing what happened. And when I got to about 17, about to turn 18, my mom was, getting ready for me to vote PNP. And I said, no, mommy, I can't do that. She says, why? I said, well, all I see is division. They've divided our people and have us fighting each other. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. We need something better than this. And so I chose not to vote PNP or GLP and not to join either. We had moved to a place called Seaview Gardens, and there I championed the rights of the people. We fought for proper sewage system because it was, causing a lot of health issues for the people with the backing up of the sewage and all of that. So I fought for that under the P.J. Patterson administration. I fought for the people, got them the sanitary convenience fixed. They didn't have any telephones, so they couldn't call the police or whatever, so I fought for them to get telephones. I also started police youth clubs and merged the two. That is left and right, JLP, PNP, bottom side, top side. So I brought the two sides together through the youths within, youth movements, and got them to see each other as just human beings. We don't need to be PNP or GLP. We don't need to be green or orange. We just need to be Jamaicans, and we need to fight for the issues that affects all of us, whether it's education, healthcare, housing, water, sanitation, economic development, you name it. We're all Jamaicans, and we mustn't take our eyes off the ball and fight each other. We need to fight for good governance.
Great. Now, I've seen where persons are trying to associate you with the former Prime Minister. Are you affiliated in any way, blood or any relationship with the former Prime Minister Percival James Patterson? Are you in any way affiliated with him?
If I am in any way affiliated with him, it's something I don't know about. So I've never met the man. We've never had a conversation. I'm not aware of us being relatives, even though, when you have the same name for anybody, people make association. I've heard family members claim that we're related somewhere or the other, but I don't know, and I've never had any relations with him to be able to determine that. And I've not had any confirmation that we're related, but I wouldn't be surprised. We share the same slave master, right? So, maybe, the same people who raped my foreparents raped his foreparents, and here we are together. So the bottom line is we're all brothers and sisters, and we need to stop this thing where we seek to tear down each other because we, of whatever. If PJ Patterson and I are related, so what? What's more important is what we stand for. Right. He stands for a system that's very different from what I stand for. I stand for a system that will unite Jamaicans and bring out the best in all of us. He stood for a system that divided Jamaicans and gave politicians an opportunity to rip us off.
Right. All right. Now, the questions that I will be putting forward to you today, Mr. Patterson, is coming from the people. I have a few of my own, but the majority of the questions that I'll be asking you will be coming from the people. And you want to actually speak to the people and give the people the answers that they deserve and need, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Now, one of the very first questions that I'm going to ask you, and I'm quite sure all the viewers here listening today is inching to hear you answer this question. We've seen politicians over the years go, come, parties being rotated left, right, on and off, and each politician come in, gives a promise, and they say, when I am elected, this is what I will do. When I am elected, I will change this. When I am elected, I will fix this. What can you say to the Jamaican people right now listening that will make them say, sounds like I will definitely go the UIC way this election. What can you say that will change a person's mind to vote UIC? Because you know that you not just making a dead promise, but your promise will actually carry through once you get in.
Well, I mean, all anyone has to do is to look at the UIC's manifesto, and you'll see that we're very, very different from any political party that has ever existed. First of all, we're a movement. We only became a political party because the system that we have requires that. Let's remember that we're under a system of colonialism. Colonialism has never left Jamaica. The powers that be gave us the constitution we have. In fact, they forced on us the constitution that we had. And the leaders we had back then did not have the foresight or the vision to this day to rip up that constitution and give Jamaicans a constitution that's written by Jamaicans, for the betterment of all Jamaicans. That is what the UIC is promising. We're going to give Jamaica, for the first time ever in the history of the Jamaican people, and for a very long time, if ever, in the history of the Africans around the world, to have a system of governance that fully and truly protects their individual liberty, protecting their rights to life, liberty, and property against even the government, right? So we want to give Jamaicans a constitution that is built on the foundation of good governance that will ensure that it doesn't matter who they elect in the future, their individual rights will always be protected. If we had such a constitution today, Andrew Holness would not be able to do what he's doing because it would have stopped him. It would have forced him to recognize that our bodily autonomy cannot be violated even by the government. And that is actually the role of government, to protect our bodily autonomy, to protect our individual right to life, liberty, and property. So instead of him trying to force us into this, he would have been creating an environment which is safe, which is clean, which is orderly, an environment where we can actually live, earn, and retire with dignity. Instead, crime is going up tremendously. The economy has failed. He promised us that we were going to get 5% growth or in 4 years. Mm-hmm. Instead, we got nothing. He promised us that we'd be able to sleep with our doors and windows open. Instead, we want to shut them tighter and put on more grills. He promised us that he was going to fix the education system. Instead, we continue to have 70% or more of our students failing. He promised us a better healthcare system. Instead, you can see, not even with a few increases in debts, the healthcare system cannot stand. The very early stages of a problem, we crumble because we just are not prepared. And this is because for 77 years, the JLP and the PNP have wasted the time and resources of the Jamaican people. And instead of building a sound country, they have built a corrupt culture.
Very interesting. Very interesting. One of the other questions that I want to ask you is, do you think going into power, let's say the UIC should take office, the damages that has already been done, because I'm going to put it to you exactly how one of my viewers gave it to me. The person said, water we dash we can't get back in a cup, right? So I'm going to put it to you that way. Now, using that term, do you think that the damages that has already been done by the previous parties before the UIC can be repaired and bring back Jamaica to be a Jamaica where every single Jamaican can say, yes, I love my country because it is the way that I can remember it back when I was a child? Or, you understand? Do you think that that is possible for the damages to be repaired?
Absolutely. We're not a lost country. In 1965, Jamaica was stronger, better, richer than Singapore, even though we had the same GDP per capita of $550 per person. Jamaica had a bauxite industry that was strong, banana industry, coffee industry, sugar industry, a much more orderly environment compared to Singapore, a more homogeneous society compared to Singapore. Singapore had racial wars, religious wars. They live on a rock the size of St. Thomas, very relatively small country, but more people on it. Transient country, They don't have anything like the resources that we had. And because they focus on some key things, and number one, they eliminated corruption. Lee Kuan Yew, their leader, focused on eliminating political corruption. That is a key plank in the UIC's philosophy, a key plank in our program and platform, is to eliminate political corruption at the top, first of all. Secondly, they focused on creating a safe environment, meaning people could live without burglar bars and operate their businesses without focusing so much on security as a big cost, but rather on the business itself. They also made a clean environment, a green environment, which was healthy and conducive for effective living and for happy living. And they made sure that public order was number one. If you put those four things together while investing in the human capital of the country, really putting your energy and your money and your thinking behind creating an education system that truly brings out the best in every citizen, you will have a first-class country. So Lee Kuan Yew and Singapore proved that in 25 years, they were able to do that, hands down. We in Jamaica can do even better. We have far more resources. We're 14 times the size of Singapore in terms of landmass, even though we have less than 1/14. They have 5 million people. We only have 3 million. So in other words, Jamaica can hold 90 million persons quite easily in this country. So 9 million people, sorry. So watch this. We have the resources already. It's just that it's concentrated in the hands of a few, the prime minister and this political elite and the wealthy people in Jamaica. They build a system that they control the wealth of Jamaica and strangle the people of Jamaica. If we can divest them of that strangulation by opening up the economy, removing the regulations and barriers to entry that are preventing small and medium enterprises from breaking out. If we can revitalize our education system so it actually focuses on people learning competencies rather than simply passing exams. If we can turn around our agricultural sector by freeing the sector up. For example, look what they've done with ganja. They claim they freed ganja, but what they did was to put regulations in that only the rich can own the industry and the poor can only work in the industry. So the UIC is going to undo that by allowing the poor to be able to own the industry. As long as they're willing to work hard to achieve, they'll be able to do so, but not have any artificial barriers to entry to prevent the small man from entering into any industry. So we're going to fix those basic things which are holding back Jamaicans and which are protecting big business and which are keeping politicians at the top. And why they do that is because big business fund the two parties. So the Jamaican people are currently not represented in politics. The only people who are represented in Jamaica's political system are big business and foreign masters. The UIC is going to change that by taking away that control big business and foreign masters have on our government and return that control through a new system to the hands of the people.
Very good, very good. And I'm liking where this conversation is going so far. I'm loving where the conversation is going so far. But for the persons in the comment section, right, and the viewers listening, most persons would possibly say that will never happen because every politician is corrupt, and the minute they get in, they only want to grease their own pockets and line their own pockets, and they forget everything that they promised. What would you say to that person who says that every politician is corrupt and only wants to grab what they can grab once they're in office?
They're actually correct. Any politician that is elected under the current system of Jamaica and who are a member of the two colonial parties, that's what's going to happen to them. You see, the system is already set. The parties are a part of that system. It's their culture. So even if somebody means well and joins the PNP or joins the GLP and then the party wins power, naturally they're going to be a part of a corrupt gang, right? Those two parties are gangs. They're not just organizations. It's a cartel. It's a gang. And when you join it, you either participate in what it's about or you're going to get kicked out, okay? Which is why I never joined any one of them, and which is why I created the UIC. The UIC is going to be a unifying force. We're going to fix the problem, which is the division, distraction, and extraction by the small elite, right? So we have created a movement and a party which is now going to unite Jamaicans. We're going to bring JLP together. We're going to bring PNP together. We're going to bring independence. We're going to bring, vaccinate. We're going to bring on everybody, rich or poor, religious or irreligious, whatever you are. The UIC is about uniting Jamaica and liberating Jamaicans. Now, so you say, but I'm a politician. So how am I going to exempt myself? Look at our manifesto. The UIC, if I wanted simple power, I would have joined one of the other two because it's very easy. What I'm doing here is very difficult. It's everybody said it's even impossible. I mean, most Jamaicans will tell you, at least a few months ago, that it's impossible for a third party to win. I always knew that was a lie. I know why third parties didn't win in the past. Number one, big business fund the two parties, and small third parties just don't have the funding to compete against big business funding the JLP and the PNP. So what have I done? I've spent the last 7 years working in the gutters to bring Jamaicans to the place where they realize they need to own the party. The average Jamaicans must own the party. And so now all of our funding comes from small donations, $500 Jamaican, $1,000 Jamaican, $5,000 Jamaican, 10,000, 11,000. And on the US side, 10 US dollars, 15 US dollars, 25 US dollars. On the Canadian side, 20 Canadian, 25 Canadian, 50 Canadian. On the British side, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 100 pounds. That's what's coming in, and that is what is building this movement, this party. We are going to be owned by the people, and when you're owned by the people and not by foreign interest or big business, then you work for the people.
Now, you have Jamaicans that are so seasoned in this one mind thinking. They are like, yo, a JLP me say, or a PMP me say, and I will never put another party in power. I'm quite sure you've heard that before, right? What can the UIC do that will pull that person over to the UIC?
Well, I must tell you, the JLP and the PNP are helping us a lot in that. Because they have failed the people for 77 years straight. This is serious enough. From 1944 until now, they have had a chance to get rid of the Queen, get rid of the Governor General, give us a better system of governance, fix our economy, fix our healthcare, fix our education, and they haven't done it. So for 77 years, they have just played with the Jamaican people. So because of that, if you notice the last 3 elections, first of all, 48% of Jamaicans did not vote. The next election, 52% of Jamaicans did not vote. The next election, 63% of Jamaicans did not vote. In fact, we have a government right now which is only supported by 21% of the electorate, which is just their base, right? Just their base. The other party lost because some of their base stayed home because they were so disgusted with their party. They stayed home. So it's only the base alone now that carries these two parties. And guess what's happening? That base is crumbling. The moment they realize the lie, the moment they realize the trick, the moment they realize that these two parties are simply relics of colonialism, that are continuing the principles of colonialism that oppresses and depresses and extracts the wealth of the nation and make a few rich and big up the foreign masters. The moment the people realize that, and Andrew Holness have synced that in now for the people, they realize, but this government now work for we. This government not care about we. All they care about is money. So whoever gives them the most money and say, do this to Jamaicans, they will do it to Jamaicans. They will literally lock up Jamaicans, lock down Jamaicans, kill Jamaicans, destroy Jamaicans' businesses, destroy the education of our children, cause teen pregnancies and child pregnancies to go through the roof. They will oppress you, suppress you, lock you down for days just to advance the cause of their foreign master, as long as it comes with $1 attached to it. So they don't care. So the people of Jamaica now realize that their government is their enemy. The government is the enemy of the people, and with that, even the base is going to crumble. Even the base is going to join the UIC. So now the 63% that didn't vote for any of them is now paying attention and saying, the UIC is very different. And the small amount that voted for the two of them, that minority that voted for the two of them, is also now saying, I get it now. And they too are having second thoughts. So by the next election, whenever it is called, even if it's called early next year, which we hope it will, even if it's called early next year, you're going to see a mass exodus, both those who were already not voting, registering now to vote, getting their voter IDs and saying, "Me ready now," and those who used to support the two, you're going to see a breaking away of their base, coming towards the UIC, not because the UIC is the Messiah, but because the UIC is honest, has integrity, and has a system. We're not promising people free things. We're not promising people pie in the sky. We're promising them a real new Jamaica with a new design, a new constitution that respects their rights, a new constitution that gets rid of their foreign masters and white queen and despicable governor general, a new constitution that gives them a president to be elected by them instead of a prime minister selected for them. They're going to now have a new Jamaica that's built on the foundation that every one of us are sovereign, and our country must protect our sovereignty and protect our collective sovereignty as a people.
All right. We've heard the speeches. We've heard where you talk about getting rid of the governor general and coming from under the queen and all of these things, right? By the way, tell us about that again before I get to the question.
Sure. I mean, first and foremost, you can't have an independent and free country with a foreigner as head of state. That's just nonsensical. And to think that the two older parties, the two colonial parties, continue that is clear indication that they don't care about us. When you have a foreigner and a white woman from a foreign country as head of state, it diminishes your view of yourself. We're incapable. So we're going to get rid of that queen. And of course, we're going to get rid of the governor general. And by the way, there should never be a monarchy over anyone. So I see sometimes my friends in the African world who believe in Afrocentricity and so on, like myself, they get excited about the fact that in the past, Africans used to have kings and queens. We don't need kings and queens. We need to tell ourselves and teach ourselves that we're all equal. That's why I don't want to be called no honorable and most honorable. Those are despicable titles that separates us and tell us that some human beings are better than others. So I want to get rid of all of that. What we want is a Jamaica where we now elect, first of all, a republic. So the UIC is going to create a non-partisan constitutional republic. What does that mean? Our system will no longer be partisan. The purpose of partisan governance is to divide the people, distract the people so that a few can extract the wealth of the people. So we're going to get rid of partisan. We're going to have a constitutional republic. What that means is we're going to have the rule of law instead of the whims of men. The way we have it now, anybody who's elected just come and do whatever they want and play with the people. Instead, what we want is a constitution that clearly defines the role of government, the limitations of government, and clearly empowers the citizen, the individual. So we're going to shift the balance now of instead of having the queen as sovereign, we're going to have the people as sovereign. And the government will, for the first time, truly exist to serve the people and remain a servant of the people and never again a master of the people. There must be no more opportunities for a dictatorship to arise in Jamaica like we're seeing now. So we're going to stamp that out. So we're going to elect a president, elect 3 vice presidents, 1 for each county. We're going to elect 14 senators. Right now, the 21 senators are appointed. They're puppets. They're appointed by the leaders of political parties to do their bidding. We're going to get rid of that. So our 14 senators will now be elected by the people in each parish, so 14 of them, so they can really focus on the needs of their parish. Similarly, we're going to make sure that the MPs are no longer selected by parties or controlled by parties or funded by big business. We're going to have a 100% publicly funded system that will ensure that every candidate stands on their own and can be independent and represent the people that selected them in their communities. So a very new system that we have spent the time to develop over the last 10 years, actually, because I've been working at this for some time. and we're now at the place where we're ready to unleash this and launch this for the Jamaican people. We're now going to become a leader in the world on what good governance should look like.
Now, I know you probably don't want to reveal your strategies, but to the person who would say, all this is big talk, but it's not going to be easy to do. You know, you may get in power, you may become the new government, but what makes you think it's going to be easy to remove the Queen or remove the Governor General and actually do all the things that you say you're going to do? What makes you think it's going to be easy? How would you respond to that person?
Well, it's not going to be easy. Nothing worth having is ever easy. If you want to get your first degree, you have to work like crazy for it. If you want to get your master's, you have to work. If you want to build a business, and I've built businesses, you have to really work at it. So I've been at this for 10 years. Many people would have given up already for the kind of work that has to go into build up a successful political party in Jamaica. I mean, I can't think of anything worse in terms of the it's like you trying to train. Let's say you're an animal trainer, right? And you're training, let's say a bear to perform in a circus, and you know that bear can bite off your hand any minute. So the very people you're working with can stab you in the back, stab you in the chest. They can destroy you. So it's a lot of work. So it's not going to be easy. But guess what? I am committed to the task, and those who are in the UIC are committed to the task. We're working on it. And guess what? As of today, we have our membership has more than quadrupled, and people are coming in. So we're going to find more qualified and competent Jamaicans to help us carry this through. And everybody is a part of the movement, from the guy who is in the ghetto, who is in the squatter community, who is in the garrison community, to the person living on the top of the hill in the big house. Every police and soldier, every nurse and teacher, every employee, every small business owner. The UIC is drawing on the entire human capital of Jamaica, and we together, we always say stronger together, we together are going to create a real new Jamaica. We're going to bring together JLP and PNP. Everybody that wants that real new Jamaica will join the UIC and help us to create it.
A lot of Jamaicans still believe that spending the pound is what Jamaica needs, as opposed to doing away with the Queen, right? Because some Jamaicans feel like since we've gotten this so-called independence, and if you notice how I said it, so-called independence, right? Some Jamaicans look at it like Jamaica got worse as opposed to getting better. Would you say that actually doing away with the Queen, the Jamaican dollar will get stronger than it is? Because right now the Jamaican dollar is pretty poor, right? Mm-hmm. Would you say that if you get in office and you do away with the Queen, you do away with the Governor General, you make those kind of changes, how will that affect the current state of the Jamaican dollar right now?
Right. So the Queen and the Governor General and the Jamaican dollar are not directly correlated. They're two different things. So the Queen and the Governor General has to do with the way our system of governance work, mm-hmm. which of course affects, our politics and so on. But let's talk economics here. So I'm a chartered professional accountant, and part of my a big part of what I do is study how money works and how money operates. I've spent a lot of years working with over 120 different countries on social development and economic development. So I understand a bit about it. I've been to a lot of countries and worked on how that evolves. Now, if you want to understand why Jamaica's currency is so low in value and continues to depreciate, it's very, very simple. Simple. I can explain it simply, but there are some complexities. But here's the simple explanation, which captures 80-90% of the problem. So if a country imports more than it exports, then the value of its dollar will reflect that.
Right.
So the higher your imports and the lower your export, the lower the value of your dollar. Now, what drives export? Export is driven by productivity. How productive are your citizens? and how competitive are your industries to be able to produce things that other people want. So for example, tourism is one of our industry. The better our tourism product, the more tourism dollars you're going to get in. So your import, the tourism is an export product, your import or the income rather from tourism would affect your dollar. Now, because of our politics, most of our tourism product are owned by foreigners. So even though we get money coming in from tourism, because most of our tourism product is owned by foreigners, they then send that money out of Jamaica because Jamaica is not their domiciled country. The UIC, for example, would change that by making tourism, community tourism, a real thing for Jamaica, which will then bring the tourist dollars outside of the inclusive environment to the rest of Jamaica. How do you do that? You make sure that all of Jamaica is safe. You make sure that all of Jamaica is clean. Simple. Pick up the garbage, for example. Have a public works department that regularly picks up garbage. Have staff and employees who regularly clean the streets and maintain the grass and maintain the flowers. So we have a beautiful tourist-looking Jamaica, not just in one small piece of Jamaica, but across the country. Invest in permaculture so that our forestry becomes an attraction by itself. So, shift the tourism product away from a few foreigners who control the product to the Jamaican people now being able to engage in the product at the community level and bring the tourists out into the rest of Jamaica. Now, when you do that, you're also helping the Jamaican, because now the Jamaican who lives here will drive on proper roads with manicured, horticulture around the country and enjoying the beauty of a well-managed country and lifting their spirits, which will make them more productive and more proud of where they are, and keep our professionals here. They won't want to leave because the economy is better, the environment is better for raising their children and living. So why leave and go to America and be treated like a second-class citizen, for example, when you could stay right here in the land of your birth and enjoy the pristine beauty of a well-maintained country. So the UIC is going to invest in safety, cleanliness, orderliness, anti-corruption, and create a Jamaica that is beautiful from east to west, north to south, and just allow the Jamaican people to be as productive as they want to be, but they're being prevented from being by bad governance.
All right, I have a few other questions that the people want answered, but before I get to those questions, I've seen already where persons are attacking your character. Right? I've seen on social media where stories have emerged about you being this type of person and that type of person. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I mean, are you speaking of any particular attack? Do you want to mention one or two that you have seen?
Well, I saw one where they said that I think you're some escape convict, a drug dealer from Canada or something like that.
I'm an open book. If you go on our website, you'll see my full story. So I have never been to prison. I've never had any issues with the police. And I'm a businessman. I am a chartered accountant. I'm a social entrepreneur. I invest in something called Yes Jamaica, which is a foundation that helps young people to become entrepreneurs. So we mentor them and finance them. I am the chairman for one of the largest, social impact investment firm in the world, located in the Netherlands. There's no way for me to sit on such a board if I'm involved in anything like that. I couldn't hold my CPA license if I'm a former felon or anything like that, right? So that's all foolishness. But we expect that. I'm not surprised. This is the way politics is played by the people who have destroyed our country. So Jamaicans will see past that. Anybody who is sensible and sane can take a quick look and realize that I am nothing like that. And they can also check my record. It's very public, so there's nothing hidden. I am probably one of the cleanest person you can find on the planet when it comes on to politics, because I'm not a politician. I'm only involved in politics because I want to change Jamaica.
So straight up, let's give it to them in a one-word answer. You've never been convicted of any crime. You're not a drug dealer. You've never been in prison in Canada. Never.
No.
All right.
In prison nowhere. Never convicted or imprisoned anywhere in the world.
All right. So to the persons who may have been circulating a photo saying that he has been convicted of XYZ crime, you heard it from himself that he has never been to prison, right? But, you know, as you said, it's expected because persons are going to try and damage your character and try to shine a negative light on you. But it's expected because the minute you're doing good, and that says that you're a threat. That's what that says. You know, they see you as a threat, so immediately they want to just say, you know what, let's cast him out. Let's start to let people look at him in the negative, and that is what it is. Now I'm going to ask you this straight up now, Mr. Patterson. Do you think that those shots are being taken by your competition?
Well, I mean, whatever a person does has to be motivated by something, right? What are you motivated by? So if a person takes the time to create a fake news item and to circulate that, it means they're highly invested, right? What are they invested in? Now, if the person is not invested in destroying me politically to advance another cause, then what are they interested in, right? So I think that answers for itself.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get back to the viewers' questions now, the people's questions. Yes. One of the questions that they want to know is, you know, we've been living under some all-time legislation. Some of the laws in place has been there from you and I before we're born, right? So the viewers want to know, will you... All right, good. All right, so the viewers want to know, will you be making any amendments to the legislation if and when the UIC gets in power? Is that something possible for you to do?
We are going to replace the entire colonial constitution that is there. So one of our top priority, this is a top priority, this is more important than anything else. We must give Jamaicans a constitution that reflects the people of Jamaica. We must give Jamaicans a constitution that is of the people, for the people, and by the people. And by God, we're going to do that. We're going to have a truly Jamaican constitution, and one that will be the envy of the world.
Mm-hmm. So it seems you're basically saying that the UIC is going to come in and do a proper house cleaning then. That's basically what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Right?
Complete house cleaning, yes.
A proper house cleaning. All right. Will there be something put in place to address the whole minimum wage situation? Because that has been the cry of a lot of persons, a lot of Jamaicans, you know, for several years, right? They're concerned about how low minimum wage is. Will that be something that the UIC takes a look at?
Well, absolutely. The UIC is going to change the economy. We're going to create an economy where persons no longer look at minimum wage. They'll be looking for a job, and they'll have many job options to choose from, because we're going to liberate the Jamaican economy. We're going to make it easier for people to start and create businesses. We're going to make it easier to innovate. We're going to make it easier to do business with the government. We're going to reduce taxes. For example, I mean, right now, based on the tariffs or duties, no Jamaican manufacturer can compete effectively with other countries, because a piece of equipment that you bring in, the duties on that is usually so big that you have already lost before you start to play the game. So we're going to eliminate all duties except a standard 10% GCT on all goods coming in. So instead of you being offside by 30, 40, 50%, you're going to just have a 10% edge to deal with. So you can make that up with other ways. So we're going to reduce duties. We're going to eliminate property taxes. So, for example, seniors will no longer have to stress out as they get older and their earnings are going down. They're worrying about paying property taxes or losing their property. And so none of that. We're going to take that away. So 10% GCT, and we have a 10% income tax on all sources of income. So no more other taxes. Right now, the average Jamaican pays anywhere between 35 to 55, 60% of their income, different forms of taxes. We're going to eliminate that. A plain field that's very simple. 10% tax for everybody from income from all sources, and a 10% GCT sales tax The purpose of that 10% GCT sales tax is to create a program that ensure every child receives the nutrition, education, and healthcare they need to succeed, and every Jamaican family becomes a property owner. We're going to eliminate the ghettos. We're going to eliminate the garrison communities. We're going to eliminate the squatting and give us some high quality, high rise buildings that will allow Jamaicans to live a new high quality of life. Why I'm saying mostly high rise buildings, we want to preserve much of our arable lands to be used for organic agriculture. We want to make Jamaica the organic capital of the world. So we're going to invest heavily in organic agriculture, shift our farmers away from using these chemicals and GMO seeds that are only causing cancer rates to go up, and instead return to the Jamaican way of farming that we had before, but of course using new technology to make us even more efficient in doing organic farming. We have learned, I've been to the Netherlands several times. The Netherlands is a small country, yet still they are the number 2 exporter of food in the world. Can you believe that? And what they have done is that they have learned to use their lands very, very efficiently, very effectively. We can learn from them and make Jamaica the organic capital of the world, where we produce the best organic foods, yams, vegetables, all kinds of vegetables, not just the callaloo and cabbage, but broccoli and all those other kinds of vegetables that the world wants, that we can produce here. So we're going to really change Jamaica so that the minimum wage question is going to be off the table. Now it's going to be an exciting new future for Jamaicans looking for and finding new opportunities and new jobs around the country.
Right. Now, this is a question from the comment section. The person says, Derek C. Williams says, jobs are great, but what about entrepreneurial endeavors? He's in listening mode. He says, late to the party, but greetings to everybody. He wants to know what kind of, entrepreneurial endeavors will you put in place for the person who, just doesn't want a job, but wants to start something up for themselves.
Yeah, man. Well, obviously he just joined the party, so he didn't hear. We're creating an entrepreneurial paradise in Jamaica. Remember, low taxes, getting rid of all the regulations that have been used to stifle small businesses and protect big businesses. In the UIC Jamaica, big businesses are now going to be fully vulnerable because we're going to allow entrepreneurs to get in quite easily. No longer will government and banks be an impediment to small businesses or to entrepreneurs. Now you're going to have Jamaicans being able to create, invent, innovate, because they now have access. They can import technology faster, right? You have technologies out there, they can import it faster, they can manipulate it without the limitations placed on them by the gatekeepers in government. They're going to be able to convert those into new Jamaican products and push those back out without the government again breathing down their necks and preventing them from getting into export markets. So you're talking about a very new way of doing business in Jamaica, where the government is actually there to make your life easier, not to make your life more difficult. If you have that kind of a Jamaica, the only kind of entrepreneurs who would not be able to succeed are those who would never succeed no matter what. But anybody who wants to be able to, and I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a social entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurship. I've been in business since I was like 16, 17, 18. My first company, I borrowed a loan of $30,000 from Mutual Bank then, which, no 21-year-old gets that amount of money back in those days. But my product and my stuff was so good, they loaned me $30,000. I paid back the $30,000 in 6 months and was able to borrow another 30 and further expand. So I know what it is like to be an entrepreneur. And we're going to create a Jamaica that will really push entrepreneurs and help entrepreneurs to become whatever they want to be.
This is one of the questions that because I had a conversation with Devon just yesterday. And one of the questions that I put forward to Devon, and maybe you'll give me a different response from what Devon gave. His answer was good, but I want to hear yours.
Sure.
Politicians today does not seem to understand accountability, right? They do whatever they please. They act however they wish, and they feel like the Jamaican people doesn't deserve answers. Now, will the UIC be accountable.
Absolutely. And if you look at our platform again, our manifesto, you'll see how we're going to be accountable. We're not just using the word accountability. It is by the way you design the system of government. Right now, in the current system, the Prime Minister of Jamaica has tremendous power. And I'll just tell you quickly how that happens. The current constitution allows the Prime Minister to appoint 13 of the 21 senators, which means he gets to appoint a majority of the senators off the bat, and he controls them. You might recall the story where he got all of them to sign undated resignation letters so that if they ever not do what he wants, he will just be able to put a date on it and fire them. So that's for the Senate. You will also know that the current system is designed so that the Prime Minister, all of the MPs on the government side, all of them are beholden to the Prime Minister, hoping and praying that he's going to give them a plum position in a ministry, as either a minister or a state minister or whatever. So they're all lining up for a position to get access to money, to get access to power, and so on. So the Prime Minister, therefore, has enormous power over the House of Representatives, the majority of the House of Representatives. He controls them, and he controls the Senate. He also controls all of those boards and stuff that he gets to appoint to, and he controls the judiciary indirectly by being able to influence them. So enormous power. So what the UIC has done is to strip that power away by making sure that the executive branch of government is fully separated from the two legislative branches. So senators will now be elected directly by the people and are owned by the people, not by the Prime Minister and those who fund this party. And the representatives, MPs as we know them as, they're now going to be completely separated from the executive, and they now will be owned by the people, not by the Prime Minister and those who fund them. But get this, for the executive branch, which is the president, now we're going to have a president and 3 vice presidents who are themselves elected by the counties. So you see how we're divvying it up? That's how you get accountability. And watch this last piece. Key piece. All of the ministers of government, right? Right now, a minister is also an MP, which is ridiculous. So you're trying to take care of your constituency, but you're conflicted trying to be a minister as well. And you're in a powerful position, and corruption becomes the norm. So we're going to fix all of that. A minister of government cannot be a politician. So the MP or the senators cannot be ministers of government in our system. A minister must be a person who is highly qualified and competent for the position into which they're going to be placed. Therefore, the president, together with the vice presidents and the general secretary and treasury secretary, will nominate qualified, competent persons and send that nomination to the Senate. The Senate will then publicly vet them. Are they qualified and competent and fit to serve in this position? If the Senate, remember, independent of the executive, if the Senate thinks they are, they will then recommend them for appointment to the House of Representatives. And the House has one mission, to just vote up or down. They don't get to play with the whole thing again. They just decide, will we vote yes to put the person in the position or no? Once those persons are elected, they cannot be removed, even if you have a new president or whatever, unless the president again makes a request that the person be removed. The request goes to the Senate. The Senate then debates and discuss and investigate, should we remove this person who the president wants us to remove, and why? And they will assess. So the person will be given a fair trial, so to speak, as opposed to a unilateral dictatorial position of the president. And then if the Senate says, yes, they should be removed, they make a recommendation to the House vote up or down, up or down, to say we keep them or we let them go. And that's how you change. That's going to bring enormous accountability. It's going to bring the kind of checks and balances that prevents the kind of corruptions we've seen over the years, and now lock in the tax dollars on delivering on the interest of the Jamaican people.
Now I'm seeing persons in the comment section saying, where will the money come from that will do all these things that you're talking about? Now, if you're probably just getting here, he already addressed that. He said that, this party is a party of the people. So the people, it takes me, you, Mr. Patterson, everybody that's aligned with the UIC to fund the UIC, every mickle make a muckle, right? So that is where the money is going to be coming from. Now, obviously, we know that the leading parties have persons who support it financially, right? Big businesses who support it financially, but the UIC wants to incorporate the people to be a part of this movement, right? So they don't want to leave you out of what is happening, which is why he's saying, they're going to take accountability for everything. They're going to make sure that they are transparent. Am I right, Mr. Patterson? They are transparent.
Objective, transparent, inclusive.
Exactly. So you are going to know everything as it happens. They are not going to be like, oh, we're the government, you're our minions, so sit down and just take what we do, right? That is what I am understanding. Now, Mr.
Take, for example, the budget. Take, for example, the budget. Right now, if you go look at the government budget, it's several pages long and it's convoluted. The UIC will have a very simple and easy to understand budget that anybody can go through and find and drill down. So they can see a number. Let's say the number says tax revenue. You click on that number and it says tax revenue by source. You click on one of the source and it tells you what happens every month for that particular line item. Expense, for example, right now, most Jamaicans don't know that we spend over $250 million on the Governor General every year. A pointless, useless, unnecessary position. We spend $250 million a year. Most Jamaicans don't know that we lose $750 million a year to corruption every single year. Right? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Yeah. So the UIC, in terms of accountability, this is going to become the people's government. No, we're truly going to be politicians are truly going to be just employees.
Right.
Truly.
Of the people. We need to put that there.
Of the people. Of course.
Because right now, people do not understand that, politicians work for us. Right?
Yeah.
Right
now,
some persons are of the notion that the politicians are there and we should just take whatever they dish out to us, but that is not the way it should be. No. This is another question that I want to put to you, and this is a serious question that every single person here going through right now wants to hear you answer. And the question is, if I'm in a community right now, I heard you said earlier that you're going to do away with ghettos, right?
Yeah.
However, for the person right now on the stream that's watching, and after this stream they can't walk inside their bathroom to turn on and get running water to wash their hands, right? What are you going to do to fix the water issue in some communities? Because for years there has been communities in Jamaica where just straight up not have no water. People have a full bucket and carry upon them head in order to bathe and get drinking water. What will the UIC do to address this issue? Because this has been ongoing for way too long. We've seen in just a video recently where a member of parliament was telling someone, listen, you need to go get the job in order to get water, right? And that right there, in my opinion, was very, very, very disrespectful and wrong in every way. So what would the UIC do to eliminate the water problem, right? And we're going to get to the electricity part too, but answer the water part for me.
Sure. I'm going to give you an example of how simple the water problem is to fix, believe it or not. It's not as complex as they have made it. And sometimes I wonder if it's incompetent or just wicked our politicians are. Is it incompetence or wickedness? Now, here I live in St. Elizabeth. St. Elizabeth is one of the parishes where you often hear we're suffering from droughts and stuff like that in St. Elizabeth, right? And farmers don't have water and whatever. I live in St. Elizabeth. I am never without water at all, simply because I do not depend on the government. I simply put in a water catchment facility in my yard, and it catches and always has in excess of 6 months of water based on rain patterns and all of that. Me, one single man, just figured it out myself, just sit down and work out the rainfall and what happens and how big I must build the thing, and put in my pump and put in I have a overhead water system, so I get gravity feed, so I don't have to depend on electricity continuously. And I have an in-ground system that takes advantage of the water runoff, and I have a filter system in place. So 365 days a year, I have all the water I need. I also have a solar system in place. Now, of course, solar is a little bit more expensive, so not everybody can easily get that. I'm just trying to tell you about one man thinking about managing his own environment. So right now, my solar system is such that I have electricity whether or not JPS is up or down because I capture solar energy. Now, what the UIC is going to do, we are going to implement what any government can do, which is water harvesting technology, and put a network in place that link those water harvesting technology across the country, and then be able to shift water to where it is needed most on a system. Now, the government that we have for 77 years, they have left most of the old water system in place that we got from the British. So a lot of our water infrastructure has not been improved in any way, shape, or form significantly. They have fixed a few broken mains and so on. So we're going to put in water harvesting catchment. Jamaica has no water problem. We have enough rainfall and enough rivers to have all the water that all 3 million of us need. In fact, we have enough water to supply 9 million people in this island without any problem if the government would become interested in providing water for the people of Jamaica. The same thing for energy. We have enough green matter to produce methane gas to provide electricity, or at least cooking gas. Here we have enough animal biomass and green mass to do methane energy from biogas. We have enough land mass and sea to create geothermal energy. We have enough sun to generate solar energy. We have enough wind-prone areas to harvest wind energy, and we have enough waterways to do hydro energy. All it takes is a bit of engineering. Now, I'm an engineer by training here in Jamaica, so I understand how we can link all of these together to ensure we have enough energy. Now, energy is crucial because the cost of energy affects your ability to be an exporter. If your energy cost is high, and it's very high here in Jamaica because of the way we procure energy, it's very high. So it means our cost of production is also going to be high, which means our competitiveness is going to be low. So if we now move to alternative or natural sources, local natural sources of energy, we can at least provide 80% of our energy needs without depending on fossil fuel. This will allow us to bring down the cost of energy, increase our productivity and competitiveness globally. And finally, if we manage our energy and our water properly, with the fact that we have a lot of good land and a lot of very nutritious soil still left, which are untapped so far, if we now shift into organic food production again and gradually repair the soil that has been damaged, we will then become food secure. Just imagine a Jamaica that's water secure, food secure, and energy secure. We will be the envy of the world, and the UIC is going to make that happen.
For years, Jamaica has been in debt, serious debt, or so they say, right? Now, you mentioned earlier that you're going to be doing away with majority of the taxes that Jamaicans have right now, and you know, Jamaicans are fed up with the taxes, right? Well, you mentioned that you're going to be doing away with majority of the taxes and bring it down to 10%, I think you mentioned, right?
Yes.
Now, if you do that, because I'm of the understanding that we're paying these high taxes and all these taxes to alleviate the debt, right? Now, if that is what it is and you decide that you're going to do away with the taxes, then what happens to the debt that the country is in?
Very good question. Now, as I tell you before, I'm an accountant and a CPA to be exact, so I understand money. I also understand economics very well, something which the current Prime Minister doesn't. That's why he promised 5% and didn't achieve it in the 4 years. Here's the deal when it comes on to taxes that a lot of people don't understand. It's not how high the tax rate is or how complex the tax system is that you get good inflow for the government to use. If you reduce the rate and reduce the complexity of the tax system, you will actually collect more taxes than you're currently collecting now. So I did the math. One of the reason why they have high rates and complex tax system is to mask the reality that corporations and the rich really don't pay any taxes. So if you're rich in Jamaica, or if you're a corporation in Jamaica, you really don't pay any taxes. All of that is passed on to the common man and woman in various forms. For example, one of the ways that many Jamaicans pay taxes is in bad roads. By not fixing the roads, the government saves the money and the people suffer the cost, which is a tax. Similarly, by not properly training and equipping our police and by not paying them well, so you get the best out of them and the best quality persons joining the police service, you end up with a poor quality environment from a safety standpoint, and then the people are paying that tax. Now, if you reshape government and stop having government all over the place doing a whole heap of things while still doing nothing. So, for example, we have several boards. That's how they milk the Jamaican people. They have tons of boards, and then they hire their political friends and lackeys on these boards and then suck money out of the Jamaican people to pay all of these people $50,000 a month and so on and so forth. So all of that big tax you see there it's creating the debt. and then you're borrowing more to pay that. So it's a never-ending cycle. So the UIC is going to chop that out. We're going to shrink the size of government to what it should be. We're going to focus the government on the things it should do. We're going to do those things very well, and therefore reduce the taxes burden on people, reduce the regulatory burden so that they can produce. Now, here's what's going to happen. When the people have less government interference in their lives, stopping them from getting things done, they will do more. So your revenues are actually going to go up with your productivity. Your dollar, the value of your dollar is actually going to go up gradually. And as it is going up, it means your export is going up, which is going to have the spin-off effects of creating more local jobs, which will cause more of our brighter people to stay here and some to come back home, because now this is the opportunity. They who come home is going to add to the competency pool and build our productivity even higher. And other companies outside of Jamaica, seeing our low corporate tax rates, will also come in, and our higher capacity rates will also attract them, which is going to make Jamaica in very short order no less than Singapore, and in my opinion, better.
Now, on the topic of taxes, does the Chinese, now I already know the answer, but does the Chinese pay taxes? And if not, why?
So the Chinese, and let's not single out the Chinese. Let's say foreign interests. So the way our government works right now, if any foreigner comes with enough money up front, which allows the government, or rather the politicians within the government, to get something out of it, for themselves. Whenever the government sees an opportunity to get quick cash. So let's say a company comes from another country and they say, listen, we can come in now and we can set up a farm, and we're going to bring in $1 billion US to do this farming complex. Just give us certain opportunities, give us certain freeness, give us a large parcel of land, give us a moratorium on taxes for 5-10 years and whatever, and we'll bring this money in. And of course, the politicians who are negotiating this will negotiate so that somehow some of that money divert away and get into their pocket. That's why you have the Trafalgar scandal of the PNP, for example, and you have the Petrojam scandals and so on. So there's always a little game that they play to do this. And through this mechanism is how the foreign interest gets a foothold in Jamaica and escapes the draconian measures of the government that is enforced on Jamaicans. So all the regulation that punishes Jamaicans, they exempt these companies from. Now we need to stop that. The UIC will stop that. Any company coming into Jamaica will come in with regulations that are higher, not less than the regulations for the Jamaican people. So anybody getting a tax break, it has to be the Jamaican people getting that tax break, not a foreign interest coming in, getting a break that allows them to effectively destroy local industries and have a competitive edge over local industries, and therefore destroy Jamaicans' ownership in their own country. We're going to remove all of those impediments and unfair treatments.
Someone in the comment section asked this question. The person said, "You're talking all good things that we like to hear, but realistically, if you should get in power, what is the time frame that you set for the UIC to accomplish all these things?"
Very good question. And by the way, these are not just nice words. These are carefully planned processes and programs to help the Jamaican people and fix Jamaica. Now, time frame for everything, you need time. So, for example, the constitutional reform, which is our top priority, because once you fix the constitution, you now start to deliver benefits to the Jamaican people in terms of an environment that allows them to succeed. So our first goal is to have the new constitution voted in within the first year of our being in office. So the first year we come, you're voting already for us, knowing what we're about, and that's why our manifesto doesn't change from year to year, which you're going to notice that makes us very different from the other parties. We don't have a manifesto that we publish just before the date of it, just before the actual election day, like maybe 2 or 3 days before, and you don't know, you hear a few things. Our manifesto is the same manifesto on January 1 of every year and December 31st of every year. It doesn't change because the solutions doesn't change from year to year for us coming in. So we know what we're going to do. You can go and read it and you can hold us fully accountable. So first year is constitutional reform, having that done, while of course dealing with the basics. For example, getting rid of the red tape affecting small businesses, shrinking the size of government to one that is acceptable. That's going to be done in phases. So you have phase 1 in year 1, phase 2 in year 2, phase 3 in year 3, and so on. Immediately fixing the GCT system, coming down from 15% to 10% and allocating that exclusively to poverty alleviation and for public emergencies and environmental protection. So that's what that 10% is going to do. The other 10%, we're going to approach that gradually. So by the time we get to the end of year 5, you would have gone from where it was down to 10% fully. We would have already simplified the duties coming in. So within the first year, we would have cut duties. The second year, further cut it. And the third year, we get to the 10% on everything. So now all the technologies and stuff becomes available to Jamaicans. So there are some things we do very quickly and some that are phased in. But within the first 5 years of our mandate, all the structural adjustments would have been done.
Jamaicans overseas, there are a lot of persons in the diaspora who would want to return home, but for one reason or other, the crime situation, we're going to get to that shortly, but yes, a lot of persons overseas would want to return home and start a business and build up the economy of Jamaica. But because of as we spoke of taxes and importing goods and items like those and the high cost to do so, right? What will you do to make sure and ensure that Jamaicans overseas can feel comfortable enough to come home and say, all right, then now is the time that I want to invest in my country? And in all fairness, if Jamaicans overseas return home and invest by starting businesses, the economy would get better. So what would you do to guarantee that foreigners can come in, Jamaicans can return home and start a business?
Well, first of all, everybody in the diaspora should know that I came from the diaspora. So I am one of those persons who returned to Jamaica. So I experienced the pain of being a returning resident and how you're treated by your own country when you're trying to return. The UIC is going to fix that. We are going to roll out the red carpet for every Jamaican who wants to return. We're going to make it duty-free. So you come in absolutely duty-free. Bring back all your tools, all your technology, all your furniture, your vehicle, everything you need to hit the ground running here. We're also going to make sure that you have the data and the information. You don't have to go and ask friend and family and guess what's happening. We want to give you all the economic data free of charge, all the regulatory information you need to know to get your business up and running or to start whatever you need to start here. we're also going to give every member of the diaspora the right to vote, and the right to vote by mail-in ballots or on electronic voting online. The reason for this is we believe that all Jamaicans should be a part of the electoral process.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to also eliminate the rules that claim that you cannot have dual citizenship in a country and participate in your country's development and economy. That is unwise. We need, as a country, to re-harness all the brain power of all Jamaicans across the world. We need the scientists, the doctors, the engineers, the inventors, the chemists, everybody. We shouldn't be blocking anybody from coming back and participating in Jamaica, and even participating from afar. If you live overseas, you must be able to fully work with the Jamaican environment and be able to get full and fair treatment. All we're going to ask is that you participate in the tax system as well of Jamaica. So you're adding tax value to the Jamaican economy in the same way you're now doing with remittances. But now, instead of just giving remittances alone, and that money might go for hairdo or for things that might not be the most optimal at the time, we now have a small contribution that you make to the economy, and you have the right to vote in the country.
Awesome. Now let's get to the big question that everybody wants an answer to. This is the big question right here. Crime. We've seen over the years, crime has been plaguing our country. And we've heard from every single party,
Yes.
when it's election time, we have the solution, we have the answer. Even just recently, where I saw several murders occurred in a parish in Jamaica, and I heard the opposition saying, listen, we can fix it. If they don't know how to do it, then just ask us. Now, my question when I heard that person say that was, well, when you had the time to fix it, why didn't you use that time to fix it? Now, my question to you now, Mr. Patterson, and I want a direct, straight out answer from you. When, and I'm not even saying if, because right now we're convincing everybody here to vote UIC. So I'm saying when the UIC gets in power, do you have a crime plan?
Absolutely. We have a brilliant crime plan. Everything that I've told you so far is a part of our crime plan, or anti-crime plan. You see, crime is not solved by simply running up and down and blocking roads and having police check everybody at checkpoints and calling curfews and zones of operation, special operations, and states of emergencies. That is a very short-sighted, ignorant view of a problem that has been created by these two parties. You might recall that when Jamaica became independent in 1962, we had an average of about 66 murders a year. 66 murders a year, right? In 1962, 66 murders per year. Let that sink in. And over time, the murder rate continues to climb. Now, in 1962, most Jamaicans were very poor because the colonial masters were in power, and Jamaica, the country, was rich. The country was very, very rich, but the colonial master slave economy was still operational, which kept the majority out of the economy from a wealth creation and wealth ownership standpoint, and only give a few people, the white skin and the high colored class and certain families and so on, had access. So what happened between 1962 and today that created this crime monster? Well, what happened was the full impact of the divisive political system, which divided us into tribes to fight each other for scarce benefits and spoils, while having a political system that concentrated power in the hands of a few, funded by the very rich, to manipulate the system and the economy to extract the wealth of the people by first dividing them and then distracting them. So the UIC has addressed all of those. We have eliminated the division. We're going to eliminate the distraction by centering the people again. Center, focus on governance, not JLP, PNP, or this group, that group. They're not the problem. It's me and you are not our problem.
Mm-hmm.
What is our problem is the system. So now stop the division, no longer be distracted, And let's now fix the system that is causing a few to extract.
All right, we seem to have lost Mr. Patterson there, but let's just hope that he will regain his connection soon. Let's just hope he'll regain his connection soon. He has frozen in the middle of his speech. All right, so let's just give him a few minutes to see if he will regain his connection. But so far, everything that he has been saying is connecting. You know, I love everything that he has been saying so far. It sounds interesting and sounds promising, right? And I know if everybody here likes what he is saying, you know, and believes that it's not just empty words, you know, you're going to look in the direction of the UIC, you know, and give the UIC an opportunity to be the new governing party of Jamaica. All right, so let's just hope that Mr. Patterson reconnects back to the stream. He has lost connection because we still have a few more questions for him, you know, so we just hope that he will reconnect back to the stream. All right, I don't know what happened to his connection, but so far the reasoning is a great one, and everyone is still hearing me, right? Let's just make sure that it's not my end is the problem. Everyone should still be hearing me because I can still see where the stream is up. And we lost Mr. Patterson. Now, for those of you just checking in, we are having a conversation with the leader of the United Independent Congress, the UIC, and he is giving us a full breakdown of his plans for our country, Jamaica, right? And things that he would want to put in place should they become the leaders of the country. Right, let me try to see if I could reach him to find out if he will be joining the stream again. All right, like I said, everybody, just make sure, just let me know that everyone is still hearing me. If you're still hearing me, just give me a response in the chat and let me know. All right, you're still hearing me. Thank you. All right, so that means the problem is on Mr. Patterson's end. So let me try and reach him. Let me try and reach him again so we can get back to the conversation if he's not having some internet issues. All right. But the conversation has been a great one so far. And I have a few more questions for Mr. Patterson. It's just a pity that his connection got cut. But I have a few more questions for him that I'm quite sure everyone would want. Mr. Patterson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we lost your connection. Are you able to rejoin? Sure, okay, rejoin, just use your phone. So we'll be right here waiting for you to rejoin. All right, so we're going to wait on Mr. Patterson to rejoin the conversation because, like I said, we have a few more questions that I want to put to him, and he was addressing the crime issue. We just had gotten to that one right there. So persons, please, if you're here, just share out the stream for me. If you haven't as yet, just share. And if you share it already, share it again and make some more people come in and listen to this conversation because it's one that every single Jamaican needs to hear. I like the way Mr. Patterson is thinking. I like the way the UIC is thinking, right? And to me, it sounds like this party is thinking about us, the people, and not just thinking about politics, right? And not just thinking about themselves, and not just thinking about, okay, maybe this is a way where I can go and make some money. You understand? Because over the years, it seems like politicians only in politics, only to better themselves, but not actually look out for the Jamaican people. You know, so I like the way that it seems right now where the UIC is actually looking out for us. Now, like I said yesterday, is that the way it's actually going to be when they get in power? I'm not going to say if they get in power. When they get in power, are they going to fulfill all these promises? We just have to wait and see. And one of the things, and I'm going to say this to Mr. Patterson when he gets back on the stream as well, you know, we want to see actions. Right? We don't just want to hear promises. We want to see action. So when they get into power and we don't see the promise is being fulfilled, then obviously Jamaicans are going to get disgruntled and upset and say, listen, you promised this, why we can't see it yet? You understand? So definitely, you know, we want a change. Jamaicans need a change. Anybody here agrees with me? Jamaica needs a change. We have been under the same foolishness for way too long. Right? If it's not one party, it's the next. And we keep going back and forth and recycling the same two old parties. Right? I believe we need a change. We seriously need a change. And I think I'm 100% for the UIC. I'm 100% for the UIC. One of the things that I like that they said is that Rita said they have to start with the promises. Yes, but I'm saying once they get in power, you know, they have to start putting those promises to actions. You understand? We need to see actions once they actually get in power. You know, someone had said to ask Mr. Patterson, what is the UIC presently doing for Jamaica as is? But I don't think that is a fair question to ask right now, because remember, they are a party on the rise. So right now, the UIC, I would think, have to build themselves, you know, and become firm and strong to actually achieve all these things that they want to achieve. You understand? Okay, Mr. Patterson is back. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you loud and clear. Sorry about that. My internet went out.
Okay, no problem. All right. Were you hearing the things I was saying just now?
I heard a piece of it, yes.
Right, because one of the things I was saying, I don't know if you caught that part when I was saying that, you know, you've made a lot of promises, right? You've made a lot of promises, and Jamaican people like the things you're saying. But when you get in power, the UIC gets in power, and we do not see these promises becoming actions, right? The Jamaican people are going to get disgruntled and angry and say, listen, you promised us this, so obviously we want you out. You understand? And
but here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? It's really very simple. You either do what you have always been doing and get the same result that you have always been getting. So you already know the outcome of voting PNP or JLP. It's empty promises and poor performance that leaves us oftentimes worse than we were before. If you just take the dollar alone, the dollar is a perfect indicator of the performance of these two parties. The longer they stay in power, the lower the value of our dollar, and the harder it is for people to live. When I graduated from UTech in the early 1990s, I had 4 job offers. And today, when a person leaves the same institution, they're lucky if they have half a job offer. So that tells you something. So the UIC now, here's your option. You can either continue to vote JLP and PNP and get what you have always gotten, or you can try the UIC and see if it is any different. Right. I heard you say, somebody asked the question, what have we done for Jamaica so far? And your answer was perfect. But let me ask the question, how much more would you want a group of people to do for Jamaica than go through the pains and struggle that we have gone through to give you an option? As long as you don't have an option, you're stuck with the other two, even if you decide not to vote anymore. So a person may say, listen, me done with politics, me not vote anymore. That doesn't change anything. When you stop voting, it doesn't change anything. Now, don't get me wrong. If you only have the two options and you stop voting, that's good. Because what it does, it sends a signal to your fellow Jamaicans that you and them don't see any value in voting. And that's a good signal. Now, when you have 3 parties, 2 of which you're very familiar with, and there's a third one now, and if you still don't vote, then what you have just done is to give yourselves no opportunity but to be locked into the 2 that has already failed you for 77 years straight.
Totally agree. the structure of our country, Jamaica is dependent on teachers. We're dependent on the healthcare providers, because those are very important contributors to our society in Jamaica. And they have been crying for years. Teachers has been crying. I'm quite sure if there's any teachers on the stream right now, they would agree that teachers has been crying for years about pay.
Yes.
The healthcare system in Jamaica as well is very poor. What will the UIC do to alleviate the pains of teachers and nurses in Jamaica?
There are a group of, all workers are important. All Jamaicans are important. Whether you are a teacher or a handcart pusher, you are just as important as the other. But what our governments over the last 77 years have done is to depreciate the value of teachers, depreciate the value of nurses, depreciate the value of police officers, depreciate the value of soldiers and firefighters and others who work within the healthcare and education and security sectors, even the way they treat security guards. Now, the reason they do this is because they don't value the Jamaican people. It's okay for the Jamaican people, if they're poor, to go to hospitals that are poorly equipped with, lack of staff, overcrowding, dirty, ill-equipped to serve, Jamaicans. The same thing for our teachers. They don't really care about the quality of education that students receive. So teachers don't have proper teaching aids. When I was going to school, I remember my teachers used to try to sell on the side, sell something to see if they can make up them pay. And that's why we also had what they call extra lessons. Many times, teachers, unfortunately, God forgive them, teachers would push to make sure they have extra lessons. So what they could have probably taught fully in the classroom, it's kind of delayed a bit, and they have extra lesson. The extra lesson is the extra pay to make up. That's all because of poor government policy. I like the Singaporean model. What Singapore does, it ensures that its teachers, for example, just to pick one, teachers, it ensures that its teachers are highly trained and highly skilled. So you cannot get a teaching job unless you are really very competent. And then they set the pay rate for teachers on par with engineers and doctors and so on. Why? Because they understood that unless you build the human capital of your country, you're not going anywhere. It's something that our politicians over the last 77 years have not figured out. They keep thinking they can create prosperity without productivity. That's why Andrew promised a fake prosperity, one that is going to be driven by manipulations and trickery and so on, as opposed to a grassroots economic process that actually lifts up the man at the bottom and gives them a chance to truly participate in the economy. So what we're going to do is all of what I told you about. You cannot do these things in isolation. So just to say, I'm going to pick out teachers and give teachers a big salary without fixing the things that are driving the economy would be a waste of time. Right. So we're going to drive the economy and let the economy help us now to allow teachers to rise. Now, I don't believe in giving everybody the same amount of money for their work. I believe those that are performing well should be paid well, right? And those who are poor performers should feel it in their pocketbook and then be pushed out of the profession if they're not performing. So what we're going to do is have a kind of a system whereby teachers are earning their base salaries, but are also benefiting from how well their students do. So the better the outcome of the students you teach, the higher your income. And those who have a consistent level of high performance, therefore, will be among those who are highest paid. And those who are below will now have an incentive to step up their game. And if they do that, we, the people of Jamaica, benefit from the spin-off effect of better quality students, better quality citizens, and therefore a better quality country.
Nadine Linton asked, she put it in a different way. She said the way the question should have been put to you is, will persons be held accountable for not delivering on the promises? That's the way Nadine said it should have been put to you.
Okay. Will persons be held accountable? Well, the UIC is not built on promises that are not attached to accountability. So all of our promises are accountability driven. You can see whether or not we change the constitution. You can see whether or not we address the water problems. You can see whether or not we address the electricity problem. So all of them are held to account, are accountable driven. And ultimately it's you, the citizens, who will hold us accountable. If you are not happy after the first year of our existence in government, you will have the ability to do a recall. So we're putting in place a recall mechanism. So you can recall your MP, you can recall your president, you can recall your vice president, you can recall your senator if you're not happy with their performance. So we're building into the electoral process the ability for early recall. So you can pull back anybody that you're not happy with. But it won't be frivolous. It will be based on tangible evidence. And that's why all of our promises are pegged to datelines. When is this supposed to be done? What is the forecasted impact of this? And you can measure that against outcome and see. So we're going to use what you call KPIs, key performance indicators, for every ministry, for every position, and the government as a whole, and operate more like a board, a business board, than the kind of dolly house that we have seen so far. So we want to hold ourselves accountable by setting appropriate metrics, and you having the ability to recall us if we fail to deliver and don't have a good reason, because sometimes you can't deliver enough for good reason. So let's say, for example, you plan to have done certain things, and then an earthquake come and rip up an entire area, and you have to divert resources. Now that's something you can explain, and so because of that, it's this. And again, you can drill down on the numbers on the website, because we want to make sure the accounting of the government must be fully accessible to you, so you can drill down and see what's going on. You can see my phone bill. You can see, what am I costing you as president? What is this person costing as vice president, and so on. So you can know whether or not your employees, the politicians, so to speak, are delivering on what they should be delivering on.
Mr. Patterson, let me ask you a question. Does the airport, the electrical company, the airlines, are any of these companies owned by Jamaica?
No. It's just that simple. I mean, Jamaica doesn't own, the Jamaican government doesn't own a great many. It still owns crown lands, so a massive amount of the lands in Jamaica are still held by the government. But like the airline, we no longer have Air Jamaica. Mm-hmm. The airports are owned by foreign companies. We hardly do anything. If you look at even our major companies, most of them are not owned anymore by local Jamaicans. They're the majority shareholders and stuff are foreigners. JPS, which is our power source, isn't owned by the Jamaican government, mm-hmm. and so on. Mind you, the UIC doesn't want the government to own many of these things. We just want them to be owned by Jamaicans, meaning we want to have a competitive environment. So for example, take energy. We're going to put in place an energy infrastructure that allows competitive energy suppliers. So we want a grid system that allows others who can generate energy to plug into that system and offer that energy for sale on an energy market here in Jamaica, so that those who are best able to procure or harness energy and supply it to the grid makes the most money from that, and the citizens get the better result of that. Similar to the water, we want to create an infrastructure that allows water harvesters to be plugged into that system, and now you have a competitive market environment to ensure quality and quantity. Once you have that, now you're satisfying the needs of the citizens, because they have options and they have quality because of the environment you create.
what would have been the reasons as to why Jamaica sold out so many of its resources? What would have been the cause of that?
Very simple.
And before you get to that, would it be in the best interest of the country, Jamaica, to regain those resources that is no longer owned by Jamaica or Jamaicans?
All right. When we talk about owned by Jamaicans, what we mean is owned by the government. And when you have these things being owned by the government, it simply means the government. The reason, okay, let's back up. The reason they're no longer owned by the government is that when the government owned them, they were inefficient and ineffective, and therefore costing us more than they produce. Right. So like Air Jamaica was running millions and millions in losses every month. And the government had to borrow money to pay for the losses, and that then adds to the debt, which then pushes up the taxes on Jamaicans, which makes their lives miserable. So the more things you have the government owning, is the more costly it is, because the government doesn't take care of things the way private citizens do. So for example, if the government owned your house, if the government owns your house, most people wouldn't pay attention to maintaining their houses. They'll just let the government own it, let them fix it. But if you own your house, you are incentivized to want to maintain it. Similarly, a business, if government owns the business, they hire the politicians hire their auntie, uncle, niece, nephew, pay them excessive salaries, don't pay attention to cost, don't pay attention to efficiency. So before long, it's a lost leading entity, right? It's just not performing. So what you want, you don't necessarily want your power company to be owned by the government. What you want is the government to own the infrastructure and then allow a competitive market to produce energy and sell it over that infrastructure. Now that will pay for the infrastructure, keep the infrastructure modern while keeping down the cost, because those who are supplying it are careful about managing costs because they're in business to make a profit. They're not in business to be politicians. Politicians don't worry about cost. They worry about making promises and getting reelected. So if you give them assets to run, they're going to run those assets into the ground, and that's what always happens. Which is why eventually they simply know to get slightly out of the hole, they sell the asset, which is and sell it to a foreigner, which now makes it a failure. Because what's going to happen is, let's say you get, for simplicity, let's say you sell an asset for $50 billion, right? $50 billion. So you get that money today. As a politician, you're going to thief some and waste some, right? So that's going to happen. Now, but that asset is now gone. It's now owned by a foreigner. That foreigner is here to make money, which is fine. They're going to make money, but then they're going to keep leeching that money out of the country somewhere else, which will continue to suppress your economy. So the UIC way is, no, let's put those assets in the hands of Jamaicans here in Jamaica who live here, who are a part of this country and culture, and take it out of politicians' hands and let that circulation of wealth happen here efficiently from a business standpoint, and let the government focus on the job of government: safety, cleanliness, order, justice, and the things that only government can and should do.
Let's take a look at the police force now.
Yes.
And this is a pressing issue as well, where we've seen over and repeatedly in different occasions where the police abuse the little bit of power that they have. And they beat up citizens, they violate the rights of citizens in more times than we care to even talk about. When the UIC gets in power, will the UIC be actually looking out for the citizens and protecting the citizens from the police? And I want you to listen to the way I said that. From the police, when it's the police who should be protecting the citizens, right?
Yes.
But at this present time, we've seen several videos of police officers beating citizens and treating them in a certain way that is inhumane. Will you go in power and fix this for the Jamaican people?
So first of all, yes, we will, but let's now get into the details. First of all, the police generally is a reflection of the government. So we have a police force, not a police service. We have a police force that was designed by our colonial masters. It was never designed to serve and respect the people of Jamaica. It was designed to brutally keep the people of Jamaica in line for the benefit of their colonial masters. When you understand that, and you understand now how the police force is developed, the training that they receive, the leadership structure of it, the connection between it and the government. So, for example, if the government is indicating that you need to go lock up people that are not wearing masks and take your attention off people who are murdering people, then the police follows that direction and become focused on locking up people that are not wearing masks rather than hunting down and preventing murderers from getting away. Similarly, when you have a government that says they're going to put in states of emergencies and create a situation where they make all citizens criminals, and particularly citizens in low-income communities. So if you live in a low-income community, you're a suspected criminal. You're not treated as innocent until proven guilty. You're treated as being guilty by association with poverty. And so the police now goes to those areas, lock down their shops, lock down their bars, lock down their communities, and create animosities and tension, and continue to foment the kind of adversarial relationship between the police and the community. The UIC will change all of that by making the police a service and changing their training, changing their tactics, changing their approach so that they become a friend of society, a friend of the community. And once again, the young boys and young girls can see their police officers as respectable citizens to whom they should look up to and expect guidance and support and attention in ways that will help them to see the value of the law. There's also a very important element of this, which is the law itself. Right now, Jamaicans don't know the law. There are many, many laws. They're complicated and complex, and we don't really know what we're about. The UIC will change that by creating something very fundamental, which is to explain to everybody this basic law, the law of liberty we call it, that you have a right to do whatever you want with your life, your liberty, and your property, provided you do not infringe using force or fraud on the life, liberty, or property of others. Even a child can understand this. And when that becomes the ethos of our existence, that not even the government can violate that basic tenet of our existence, then you start to reshape the society, because now they understand self-ownership. They understand what it means to be a responsible citizen. And it's not complex anymore. It's not, you can't know what is really going on here. Now they're going to know how we should live, the morals that will undergird our existence. And we're going to usher in a new era of Jamaicans who finally understand what freedom means and understand what personal responsibility means as well.
We had gotten disconnected on the topic of crime. You didn't finish your statement when we got disconnected.
Right.
And someone just reminded me to say, continue the solution that you have for crime. Because, like I said, that is a serious topic right there that a lot of Jamaicans are concerned about. So if the UIC gets in power, I keep saying if. When the UIC gets in power, because we have to speak it, right? We have to speak speak it into existence, right? So when the UIC gets in power, as far as crime goes, what, I want to put it the right way. I don't want to say what plans you have, but what strict measures, let's put it that way, will you have for criminals? Because over the years, everybody has been crying and saying, we want back capital punishment, and maybe that shouldn't be the what we are running with right now. But I just wanted to put that there. Many persons has been crying, saying over the years, we want back capital punishment, bring back capital punishment. Maybe that will change something. But what strict measures would the UIC put in place to try and curb or control the crime situation?
Yeah, so crime in Jamaica is not driven by fear of punishment. There are so many different pieces to it, and people look for simple answers because they're fed up and frustrated. The UIC does not believe in the death penalty, particularly in a country that is highly corrupt. You wouldn't like, for example, for somebody to be framed for a crime they didn't commit and hastily then get hanged, and only to find out 15 years later that it's not so. You see, where
Right.
we have people in jail rotting away for 20, 30, 40 years
Right.
without trial. So we can't afford to have something so drastic as a part of our normal judicial system in bad governance. And we don't want to even countenance it in good governance. So here's the issue. What is the primary cause of crime in Jamaica? If you study the data carefully, you'll see that a lot of it has to do with parenting. And and a lot, there's a lot into that I'm going to try to unpack here, right? Um, Most of our students leaving high school graduate without the basic competences, the basic communication skills, the basic computational skills, the basic reasoning skills, the basic analytical skills. So these are missing. Now, these are the same persons who then become parents. Many of them are underemployed or unemployed, living on the margins. So and oftentimes they're single parent homes, so missing a father in most instances. And so you have the mothers crying and so on. These all combine to make it easier for the person to get into a gang than get a job, get into scamming than getting into entrepreneurship, because of all the things I mentioned before, the barriers to entry created by a corrupt political system, which creates gatekeepers and politicians who then give a blight to some and block off others. So all of these pieces must be fixed if we're going to address crime, which is why the UIC takes a holistic approach. First of all, we understand the colonial past, we understand the colonial constitution, we understand the incentives and disincentives created by such a constitution and such a governance model. And so we want to pull away all of those things that are affecting the Jamaican people. So we have to now deal with some fundamental problems. That's why the UIC has set aside now 10%, the full GCT. We're going to set that aside, and that is going to be a major plank. So now the poor person picnic going definitely get nutrition. If you don't eat well, you can't learn well. And if you don't learn well, you come out of the conveyor belt more suited to the gang than to a work environment. And then of course there are less work opportunities for you. So again, you're still going to gravitate here, right? Now, so here we address nutrition, education, and healthcare for the young. We also follow this up with a program. Once you leave high school, you have a program of apprenticeship, which gives every single high school graduate who is not going to university or to another college program or whatever it is. Once they're not going into any other program, they come into this apprenticeship program, which gives them a job immediately. They might learn firefighting. They pass through different areas, but firefighting, for example, policing, administration, research center, whatever it is, but they get a job. The job gives them an amount that is just enough for them to get by. It's not a big pay, but then it prepares them now in a hands-on way for work. So they're now involved in something meaningful. They're a part of a meaningful team. They're learning work skills, getting up on time, following a schedule, participating in, teamwork and so on in a work environment for which they're paid. Once they're fit and ready, they transition at any time out of it into a job or into further studies or whatever it is. So we're going to take them away from the gangs. We're gonna make it so attractive that every child who, for whatever reason, isn't going on to something meaningful can get into that. Secondarily, now we're getting rid of the ghettos and the garrisons and the squatters community by moving those families into becoming property owners in a new housing development that we're going to have across the country that creates high quality condos, 3 bedrooms, 2 3 bedrooms, good living room, good kitchen, properly built with a mortgage that allows them to be able to now pay this over time. And it's generational, so they have enough room to manage this and now become property owners. While we're doing that, we're converting all of the arable lands into organic production and make us an organic capital. So now we're getting monies coming into Jamaica to further stimulate the economy. We're going to make agriculture again a key part of our economy, a key part of our thinking, a key part of our schooling, and good quality agriculture, not the fake one that we have now with all the chemicals and all that kind of stuff. So linking all of those, bringing on the projects for the water harvesting, the project for the energy harvesting, the project for the food security, putting all of that together with the education improvement, with the health and nutrition of our children. Now you start to create an environment where there's no incentive to be in the gangs. Now you can do something better with your life. And we have a workfare program now for the adults. So any adult who doesn't have a decent job at the moment, now they can join the workfare program, which is similar to the apprenticeship program, but this one is now for adults with a little bit of difference in the way we treat them, so that they can, quickly sharpen certain skills and get into a productive sector of the economy, which will now be opened up because we get rid of the fake regulations that protect big businesses and stifle small businesses.
Great. Now, as we're about to wind down, because we've been going for 2 hours long, but it's a great conversation. As we're about to wind down, let's address this march, this walk for liberty that the UIC is putting on, and this is for the Jamaican people. Now, first of all, tell us about the walk for liberty and what it's all about.
Sure. One word, liberty. It's about protecting the rights of Jamaicans to choose. We're not anti-vaccine. We're not pro-vaccine. We are pro-choice. We want the government of Jamaica to understand that they do not have the right to violate the bodies of Jamaicans. They don't have the right to be mandating Jamaicans to stay home. Every person should be free to move, should be free to travel, should be free to trade, should be free to associate, and to be responsible while doing so. It is not the place of government to take away the rights of any Jamaicans under any pretext. Now, what they have done is to treat us in the paternalistic way that they've always done. They know best what is best for all of us, and that's it. Wrong. 63 men and women in Parliament don't know what is best for 2.9 million people. What they do have is the responsibility to give us clear, concise, useful, honest, objective information, and to point us to the options that we can use to protect ourselves and to help us in accessing those options fully, not in limiting those options, not in defining whichever option they think is best and then going on a campaign to force, to bribe, or coerce Jamaicans into taking it. That is wrong. That's not good governance. That's dictatorship. And this party, which is in power, they accused Michael Manley of taking us just down this path. They went on a mission that caused 800 persons to be murdered in this country, and telling us they're doing that because they want to protect us from communism and dictatorship. No. How can they today be doing what they led us in a near civil war to fight for? But let me calm down. I want to come back to why we're doing this, which is all of that. But the liberty. We want Jamaicans to have the choice as to what medications they take. And when they do take one, it must be based on informed consent. The government is not our parent. It's not our master. It is our servant. And right now, the Jamaican government has lost sight of that and has taken on a position for which it must be held fully accountable. It is treasonous what this Prime Minister has done, and they deserve to be charged and tried and punished for what they have done to the Jamaican people.
How effective has these walks been so far? How many walks have the UIC done so far?
So far, we have done 5. So we have done, we did Kingston very early. We did a symbolic walk in Heroes Circle on Independence Day. And after that, we went to Portmore. Then we went to Spanish Town, then to Maypen, and then to Mandeville. Each of those walks continued to get bigger and bigger and bigger as people get the confidence to say, hey, we can stand up for right, I mean, so UIC here standing up for we can now join them. So now more and more people are getting the confidence that they're not owned by government. They own the government. And so people are coming out now and the numbers are building. So now we're shifting gears now. We're no longer doing walks for liberty. We're now doing a march for freedom on Gordon House. And why are we doing a march now? The government has stepped up its assault on the Jamaican people. The government has stepped up its threats against the Jamaican people. And the government has allowed employers to be forcing Jamaicans to take a medication when an employer has no place at all. Prescribing medication, and on top of that, forcing Jamaicans to either take it or lose their jobs, which they are saying, because by extension, they're saying you need to pay for tests. They know that they have made Jamaican people poor. Most Jamaicans are paid such a paltry sum for their wages. They know that people can't afford to go pay for tests every 72 hours or whatever they say. They know we can't do that. So when they say to you, take the job or go and take tests, they know that what they're saying is lose your job or take a job. And so we, the UIC, are standing with workers. We're standing with the police. We're standing with the soldier. We're standing with the nurses. We're standing with the teachers. We're standing with the security guards. We're standing with the Mother's Party employees. We're standing with the Isratech employees. We're standing with the CVM employees. We're standing with all Jamaicans and all workers. And guess what? If the government and these unscrupulous employers don't back down, we're going to create a national strike, and we're going to make sure that we particularly punish those companies and cause them to never again be able to operate in this country if they pursue this path and continue to pursue this path.
Now, we have to cover all aspects in this conversation, Mr. Patterson. So we're not only going to look at the positive. We are going to look at the negative commenters as well. And
yes,
there are some commenters who comment and say, UIC uno go man, cause uno only a try to roll upon the pandemic back right now to get a come up. You probably would have seen some commenters come with that. I've seen it, right? And they're saying that you're not being true to Jamaicans. You just want to use this to get the UIC known. What would you say to those people?
it's very simple. Just look at our history. Before there was ever a COVID, this is the same message we've been preaching. So it's just so happened that the COVID is a catalyst now, because now people are seeing for true what we're telling them for the last few years, that the structure of government we have is a dangerous one. And now they're seeing what we tried for years to tell them, and they couldn't get it. And I understand, because when it's peace and safety, sometimes you don't really get it. You don't even say the small. You see, it's like cooking a frog. I hear they say, if you want to cook a frog, you put it into the water when it's cold, and you just gradually heat it up until the frog, before him realize it, him a boil. If you put him in there when it's hot, him going to just jump out. So what they've been doing with Jamaica and the world, this is not just in Jamaica, it's a worldwide plan, I believe, to gradually take away and now fully take away the freedoms of the people and turn the entire world into the slaves of a few people, right? And by slave, don't get me wrong, when you say the word slave, people are thinking of persons in chains and somebody slapping you over your back. No, they're more sophisticated than that. For example, our banking system is designed to keep you in slavery. That's why you have these longer and longer mortgages. That's why you never pay it off for 25, 30 years. That's why the value of your money is always dropping. That's why when you retire, you find your pension is not enough to keep up with the cost of goods. So it's a long time them a slave we, but we don't fully understand it. I have understood it because I am a student of economics. a financial person who focused on political economy and understanding it. So I've seen it for years, and I've been able to predict many of the things that they're going to do before they did it, which is why I formed the UIC, knowing that we're going to get here. I didn't know how we're going to get there, whether it's going to be a COVID or a viral disease or a financial collapse or whatever, but we're there. And now I want to make sure that Jamaica is at least that one true free country on the planet where every Jamaican, the other 4 million Jamaican abroad, can run away from where them there and come here. And this will be the last bastion of freedom on the planet, where any citizen, any person rather, around the world want to find a free country. Jamaica must be that country.
Great. We're going to get back to the COVID conversation in a short order, but I think this is one question that, even though we spoke about it earlier, I'm guessing that this person just got here, but I'm going to repeat the question because it's a very important one that persons need to know the answer to. So Ilian is saying, Unstoppable, can Mr. Patterson please shed some more light on what overseas citizens need to do to secure or vote, and the diaspora, right? I know we spoke about that earlier, but it's I'm sure you would agree that it's very important for persons overseas to know what they can do to vote for the UIC when that time comes.
Right. So currently, for you to vote in Jamaica, you have to be under voters list. So you have to register, and for you to register, you have to be when you come down. Let's say you come from foreign and you come here on your Christmas break or whatever, for example. You go to the electoral office in your community. Every community, every major town has one. So Santa Cruz, has one. Everybody, there's always a electoral office of Jamaica somewhere in your community. You find the one for your community. You go there. They will take a picture. They will take your fingerprint, all the stuff, and say, yep, you are now a provisionally registered, so to speak, but not fully. They now need to come to your home and visit whatever address you give them, so you can then be an elector in that geographical area, right? That division, that constituency. So they have to come to your home and check on you. So you have to give yourself some time. Usually it's about 2 to 3 weeks that they come and check. Sometimes very fast, sometimes slow. So if you're lucky, you go there today, and maybe next week and a half somebody comes and check on you. And so you have to be at home when they come and check, which is ridiculous. But so you have to be at home, and then they come and check, and it's good. So you're there. So find your address, whichever address you're going to use here in Jamaica. You can have a family home that you're associated with, or whatever. So you go early. As soon as you land off the plane, just run, go at the register, go to the office and register, so that within a week or two, they come to that location. They find you. They won't tell you when they're coming. So, I just let go. And then you get registered, and that's it. Then now, on the day of election, you have to be in the country to now vote for the UIC.
Okay. Now, let's get back to the COVID conversation. We have a few minutes to go before we wrap up. But, yes. All right, so you've been doing these marches, and you're marching for the people. Now,
yes.
One of the things that you're trying to fight for is to make sure that it's not mandated. Correct?
Yes.
You're fighting for it not to be mandated. Now,
Correct.
This is my question to you now, Mr. Patterson. Companies are, you touched on it a bit, but companies are giving persons an ultimatum, not a choice, an ultimatum to say you either do this or leave, right?
Yes.
Now, they're supposed to have organizations that stands up for the people. For employees when things like this happens. Are these organizations actually standing up for the average worker when a boss says, listen, you need to do this or you need to do that in order to keep your job? Are these organizations actually standing up for the workers, the average worker?
So not every employee is a part of a unionized environment. But those who are in unionized environment, for the most part, the unions are relatively quiet. You might also be aware that most of the unions in Jamaica, the two major unions generally, are aligned with one or the other of the two political parties. And you might be aware as well that the two major parties, the two traditional colonial parties, they are pretty much aligned on wanting to force this on Jamaicans. So right now the people are without representation. There's no apart from the UIC championing their cause and fighting for them, the two major parties and their two unions are aligned against the people of Jamaica. And so the people don't have the support, don't have the protection of either their government or their unions. And the government also have arrayed the police and the army against the people. So the people really are in a corner right now. We're cornered, right? Because the government, the security forces, the unions, the employers, they are against the people. And so the UIC now is here fighting for the people to regain the upper hand. And we're talking about a future mandating of the vaccine. That's not really accurate. The so-called vaccine is already mandated because the government says they have to do measures such as lock you down, impose curfews on you, and all kinds of things. And the employers are there now threatening you and forcing you. So it's already a mandate. It's just a matter that eventually they will now pass a law that makes it more full. And the employers are hoping for that because that's what will give them their get out of jail free card. It will say the government has now mandated it, and so see, we were right all along and you don't have a case and so on. So the UIC is fighting against all of that. We want the worker, we want the employee, we want the people of Jamaica to have the freedom to choose, and it cannot be a choice when there's victimization associated with it. You cannot be promising to victimize people and then saying they have a choice. They have no choice. They know that Jamaicans are poor. They have made us poor. They have kept us poor. They have destroyed our economy and made us wage slaves. And then they're using our poverty against us. The rich can buy their way out of this. Any rich person can just pay for the test if they want. For example, any rich person can, it's mostly the rich who owns the companies. So they can force the employees to take it while they themselves may not take it. They can buy a COVID fake passport when the time comes. So all of this is an assault on the poor. It's about controlling the poor, dictating to the poor, and possibly even eliminating many of the poor.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, the order where businesses are doing these things and telling employees if you don't do it, then they're not outright telling them, you can't come to work. But you know what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Now, if and when it gets to the point where the government says, listen, this is now mandated, is it likely for the UIC to have lawyers on board to take this to the next level, to say, listen, we are still fighting for our Jamaican people to make sure this cannot be made mandatory?
We have a legal defense fund, which persons are donating to help us to help employees and possibly even take the government to court. But to be honest with you, the court system is not necessarily our friend. So we can try and we can pursue, but I know what our real friend is. 500,000 people on the streets is our friend. 500,000 people not going to work is our friend. 500,000 people surrounding the parliament building is our friend. 500,000 people locking down the economy and the government is our friend. And that's what we're aiming for. We want to properly educate, inform, and empower Jamaicans to stand up for their rights. Stop asking for their rights. Stop begging for their rights. Stop hoping and praying for their rights, but demanding and taking their rights. So Andrew Holness has taken away the people's freedom. Now the people must take back their freedom. I am leading that process. I am facilitating that process. I am encouraging that process. The Jamaican people must stand up against this government and must take back their country from this government. They cannot rely on the courts. They cannot rely on a fake law, a fake constitution, which was never designed to protect them. They cannot hope and pray for a Messiah to come and save them. We, the people, must get up and defend ourselves. This is not about a virus. This is about your right to be a free man and woman. The virus will be there. We will have many viruses. We will have many sicknesses. Right now, more people are dying from cancer than from anything close to this virus. And we don't have anybody telling people and forcing people and pushing for people to have proper food again, organic food again, good, clean drinking water again, living a healthy lifestyle again, and banning and pushing away all the foods that are killing us. Nobody is fighting for those things, right? But they want to force us into a scheme which is going to make billions for big pharmaceutical companies while destroying the rights and freedoms and lives of the Jamaican people. We must be that country that stand up and say to the world, no, we're not going to accommodate it. And the United Independence Congress is going to be there for the Jamaican people if they want that kind of leadership. If they want to continue with what they have, then we can't change it, right? But if the Jamaican people want true freedom in a responsible environment, run by a government that cares about the sovereignty of the individual and the sovereignty of the country as a whole, then they have us here to give them that. If they want to continue with what they have, then they can do that. But we're hoping and praying and working, because faith without works is dead, right? You can't just have faith. You have to put some work into it. And we're putting the work into it. And we're working with the Jamaican people to say, get up and stand up for your right and do not be divided anymore. Don't let them trick you by dividing you into vaccinated and unvaccinated anymore. Don't let them trick you into telling you lies and showing you whole heap of deaths every day fictitiously. People are dying every day, but it's only now every minute they're showing you a nice family or a picture that, oh, they died and this is the reason and so on. And they're trying to create fear into you, drive fear into you. So you take a decision based on fake and false information, manipulation and bribery and trickery, instead of an honest, objective and transparent government to make sure you know the truth so you can do the right thing for yourself and your family.
Now, Jamaican government clearly imitates every move the United States makes, right? The United States make. As you probably know by now, because I've seen it in an article today, where it is going to be mandatory for persons traveling on airlines to have been vaccinated. I'm not quite sure if you saw that article. I even saw it on the mainstream news, right? And it's supposed to be taking effect in another couple of months, right? Now, if the United States is making that mandatory for airlines and certain establishments, right?
Mm-hmm.
What makes you think that the Jamaican government is not going to follow that move as well?
No, they are going to follow it. We have to stop them. Mm-hmm. The Jamaican government is merely a parrot and a puppet. They don't think, they don't build, they don't create, they don't solve any problems. They want to build roads, they just hire China. They want a new law, they just cut and paste something from overseas. Mm-hmm. We don't have a thinking government. We don't have a prime minister and a cabinet and parliamentarians who actually sit down and think about the needs and aspirations and goals of Jamaicans, who actually think about how to benefit the Jamaican people. All they think about is how to maintain power and extract our wealth. And so we, the Jamaican people, must realize that. We have a parrot and a puppet as a prime minister. We have a parrot and a puppet as government. And we, the people, have to shut up that parrot and get rid of the strings that are attached to that puppet and create our own government, which is going to be about the interest of Jamaicans.
Now, how effective is a petition? Because I've seen where persons do petitions for various reasons. Do they actually work? Now, if the Jamaican people, let's say the UIC starts a petition to say, okay, if we get X amount of signatures, then they cannot mandate it. Is that something that actually works?
Petitions only work with a government who actually cares about the people and cares about what happens in terms of the next election, right now we're not in a petitionable environment. We can do a petition. It's just a part of our arsenal. You do a petition, so you have it. Yeah, we did ask you kindly, and so here is a list, and it's so many people. But at the end of the day, the Prime Minister has made it very clear. He says it has to be done. He is committed to doing what his foreign masters have said. This Prime Minister will not be backing down except we, the people, stand in front of him and make him back down. Mm-hmm. And the only way he's going to back down is if we, the people, make it clear to him that he's no longer welcomed in Gordon House. Right. So if we sit back and hope that he's going to just back down because we put our name to our petition and stay in the comfort of our home or the discomfort of our home and let him do whatever curfews and lockdowns he wishes and new rules that he wishes and so on, and allow employers, because he knows he's using the employers, right? He's using the employers to enforce his mandate, because as long as he's not attacking the employers and saying you're wrong, they know they're right. So the mandate is already here. Everybody right now who has gotten a letter from their employer that says you start testing every 72 hours or whatever, or take the juke, or take unpaid leave, they know what that means. So right now, for the teachers, for the nurses, for the police officers, for the Isratech employees, for the CVM employees, for the Mothers Party employees, all of those people, the mandate is now for them, right? And so we are in a serious position, and that is why the walk on the 22nd of September, 9 a.m., meeting at Ward Theatre just across from Parade, St. William's Grand Park, that meeting is a crucial one, because we have to send a clear message that we're willing to fight. We must fight for our rights. We cannot afford to allow this to slip, because if they get away with taking away the right to your body, nothing else is left. That is the last frontier.
You made a speech recently in a video that I saw where you were saying you had some COVID plans that you would have put in place if you were the leading minister right now. Can you just tell us about those plans again?
Sure, no problem. I mean, first and foremost, when you have a pandemic, and you verify that it's real and everything, the first thing you have to do is to close your borders to non-nationals and non-residents, right? That's the first thing. So you make sure that for a short period, until you can see what's going on and make sure you have clarity, you close the borders to all non-nationals. You never close the borders to your people, which this Prime Minister did. He closed the borders on some of our citizens that were at sea, but he is now letting in cruise ship with non-residents and foreigners to come and enjoy our country while he locked out Jamaicans. So the first thing we would do is close the borders to have control over that and monitor the borders, what comes in and out, so that we can control the environment first and foremost. The second thing you want to do is to put together a public emergency council. When you have a pandemic, which is tantamount to a war, when you have a war, that's not when you have partisan politics. You have to make sure that there's no indication of politics here. This is now going to be a national effort to protect the interest of all Jamaicans. So you put aside politics. So the best way to do that in the current environment in Jamaica, which I advocated from last year when this just started, I said, put together a public emergency council, and on that council, you make sure there's equal representation from all political parties that are registered in Jamaica. That immediately neutralizes the partisan element. Then you use a process now, using those persons in the political leadership to appoint to the commission persons, the brightest minds from science, medicine, technology, law, economics, industry, trade, and civil society groups. So you bring together the kind of people who can give input to what will be our response. Then you make sure with that group, you have complete transparency on the information that the government has. So whatever it has from any source, that information comes to this body. What that is doing, you're ensuring you have objectivity now. All these people know the truth, and can objectively look at the various solutions, right? Early treatment or whatever we can do, choices of medicine, and all that kind of stuff. It's objective. It's not a prime minister dictate. It's not any one party dictating. It's a collective of smart people who can help with this. Now, from there, you move to you also now dispel any idea of shenanigans because it's an inclusive body. So it's objective, it's transparent, and it's inclusive. What this does, my friends, it builds trust. Now the people would trust their government because of the process that has been selected and how that process unfolds. Coming out of that now will be solutions. And I can assure you, such a body would realize that it's important not to just test people and send them home. You'll identify indigenous solutions, remedies, herbs, whatever that can be used, local or international medicines that can be accessed to help and protect our people. And you would not end up now with the government being controlled by outside forces dictating a single solution and then now mandating and forcing and bribing and pushing the people to that one solution. Because this objective process, this transparent process, this inclusive process would prevent that. And one of the key elements of that process would be to recognize that the sovereignty of the individual and the sovereignty of the country must always be paramount and protected.
Mr. Patterson, a few of the viewers in the comment section is asking, what can they do as far as contributing to this cause that the UIC is promoting? Where can they go to contribute? How can they contribute? I'm seeing a few persons in the comment section asking that question. So you could give them that info.
Sure. The best way to contribute is to go on our website where it says donate here, and it lists all the options for you. You can donate by using the button, paying with your bank card or your credit card and whatever through that process. You can also, look at our addresses and send something into us, a check if you want. But you have all those options listed there on the website, which is uicjamaica.com. uicjamaica.com. And we survive entirely on donations from ordinary Jamaicans. We are not interested in any corporate entity coming to give us large sums of money and dictating that we change our position or stance on these matters. We will not be controlled by anybody but the people of Jamaica.
In a conversation that I overheard recently, it said that there was a point in time in Jamaica where there was a hospital in every parish. Are you aware of that?
Yes and no. There were hospitals and there were clinics and so on. But to be fair, it's not a matter of that there were clinics and hospitals in every parish, because we've always had a substandard system of healthcare in Jamaica. And you must understand as well that the population of Jamaica has grown over the years. So there's a time when the population was less, and so it would be a different context. To be very frank, Jamaica, the average Jamaican, the vast majority of Jamaicans have never had a good healthcare system. They're not a priority. They're not respected by the leadership of Jamaica, the government of Jamaica. So you have private hospitals for the rich, and then you have substandard hospitals for the working class and the poor.
Right. All right, Mr. Patterson, we have come to the end of this awesome conversation. We could go on with this for another 2 hours, but I'm quite sure you're just as busy as I am.
Yes, this is longer than I thought it would have been, but I thank you though, because it's really important that we connect with each other, that we connect with the people everywhere.
Yes.
If you're a Jamaican, no matter where you live, this is your business. Jamaica is your business. And I want to just say to all my Jamaicans, wherever you are in the world, it's time for you to help us to liberate your country so that you can live in a safe, clean, and orderly Jamaica where everyone can live, earn, and retire with dignity in their own country.
You know something, Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
I had you on the split screen where I'm on the screen. I feel like I need to give you a full screen for you to give the closing statement. So
Sure. Sure. No,
there you go. You're on full screen right now. Give it to them.
no problem. No problem. I just want to say to all Jamaicans, wherever you are, anywhere in the world, you are a Jamaican and you have a stake in Jamaica and you have a responsibility to Jamaica and you have a right to Jamaica. And so I'm inviting each and every one of you to join hands with me and our fellow uniters and freedom fighters in the UIC to help create a safe Jamaica, a clean Jamaica, a very orderly Jamaica, a Jamaica where you can live, earn, and retire with dignity in your own country. Let us create one Jamaica, not a rich Jamaica versus a poor Jamaica, not a GLP Jamaica versus a PNP Jamaica, but a Jamaica for all Jamaicans, a truly non-partisan constitutional Republic of Jamaica where we bring out the best in our people. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in that real new Jamaica.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I know we say we're going to wrap up, but I feel like this question needs to be asked, Mr. Patterson. And it's because someone just commented it in the comment section. It is a question that I wanted to ask, but it slipped me. Yeah. And it has to do with the mainstream media. On these marches that the UIC is doing, whenever the UIC is going out, is the mainstream media contacted to say, hey, you know what, we're doing this march today at this time and we would like you to be there? Is that ever done?
Well, we used to send regular, what do you call them again? Notices to the media on our various activities and stuff, and also on our positions on various issues. But we have been blocked out for quite a few years now. So that's why many Jamaicans didn't even know about us, because, normally when you have a political party and there's an issue, whatever the issue is, whether the issue is a scandal or a new government policy or a serious incident in the country, you would have the media pushing a microphone in the face of the different political parties and asking them, what do you think about this? Well, we have not been benefiting from that. They have just blocked us off and not come to us about anything. Since the walkout, and by the way, they see everything because they pull all my stuff from Facebook and from Twitter and from YouTube. They whatever they need, they have it there. So we don't even have to send them anything. They have it. But since we have been doing the walks for liberty, they have begun to now taking note, particularly because I use phrases like fake vaccine, so they want to pick up on that, or because they might see some of the people around us saying no vaccine and they would like to call us an anti-vaxxer. So they usually try to do a show on us, but not to really show the truth to Jamaicans, but to advance a narrative like we're anti-vaxxers or like we're crazy, something like that. So we know how the media is towards us. So we kind of ignore them. We focus on people like yourself who are willing to give a fair and balanced review. You're just interested in Wagwan Jamaica. You want to know what we're doing, what's going on, and that's why you spend the time to have an interview like this. Right. They don't do that. They don't want to hear what we have to say, because those who own them also own the other two colonial parties.
Very good answer. Mr. Patterson, thank you once again for joining me in this conversation. It was very enlightening, and I'm quite sure a lot of persons here, if not everyone, got something informative from this conversation. And most definitely, we would love to have you again, maybe whenever, or I was going to say if, when they make it mandatory, I would love for you to come back again and have a conversation with us about that and how you feel about it happening and what's going to actually take place to make a change.
Well, I want to be sure that it never happens. And if it happens, I want to make sure we have 500,000 Jamaicans to overturn it instantaneously.
All right, Mr. Patterson. This platform will definitely welcome you every single time. Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you. And all the best to you and your viewers.
Blessings.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Unstoppable family, we have come to the end of this conversation, and it was definitely a great and enlightened one. And I want to thank everybody who shared out this stream tonight. All right, and make sure that you go and do some research, learn more about the UIC, visit their website, and play your part to bring a change to Jamaica. I'm seeing Jamaican Carlos in the building. Big up yourself, my brother. I'm seeing Lionfoot in the building as well over here on YouTube. Big up. I have to, shout out these content creators like, Jamaican Carlos and Lionfoot, because they are like me. They cover the important issues of Jamaica, right? And it takes people like us to stand up for the Jamaican people. You understand? We see the issues and we bring them forward. You understand? And as much as some people may want to think we do it only for the views, let me leave that one there. So, but yeah. So big up to Jamaican Carlos, big up to Lionfoot, Masuna, my brother in the building. All right, viewers, like I said, go on over, check out the UIC's platform, play your part in making a change in Jamaica, right? When the next election comes around, whether you are overseas or in Jamaica, make sure that you figure out a way where you can go and put your vote in for the UIC, right? Now, bear in mind, a lot of persons may be saying, yo, them not stand a chance because them new. Do away with that kind of thinking. Do away with that kind of thinking. What you need to do is say, you know what? They may not stand a chance because they are new, but my vote counts. So that one vote that you are going to put in for the UIC, it will actually add up. So don't give the other party them the advantage by saying, Chub, that one they new, so I'm not going to vote for them, I'm going to vote to the same devil when I know. No. Let's give the new party an opportunity. Right, and I'm seeing where Devon is in the comment section, standing up for Mr. Patterson. But Devon, that is not even necessary for you to do, because Mr. Patterson, in the beginning of the conversation, addressed the rumors where persons trying to defame his character and tear him down. So he already addressed that. So going back and forth with persons in the comment section about it, you're only giving them fuel. You understand? If they want to spread rumors, let them spread rumors. If they want to say he was convicted when he already cleared that up, let them spread the rumor, because what they're actually doing is they're bringing more attention to the UIC, because when they do that, more persons are going to be like, well, you know what? Let me go see who this Joseph Patterson is, what them talk about. And those who are actually truly interested in learning about Mr. Patterson and learning about what he's all about will go to find out whether or not these rumors are actually true, because then persons will go and do their own deep research to find out the facts. You understand? And if someone has been convicted, I'm quite sure there will be traces of it online somewhere to find some bit of information about it. So there's no need to battle with them in the comment section. And to the person that said, Unstoppably, you don't like to hear opposing comments. Opposing comments are always welcomed. I have no problem with opposing comments. I welcome opposing comments. I welcome persons who don't agree with what is being said, because everybody is not going to always agree. What I have a problem with, however, is disrespect. If I see disrespect, then right away that person is going to be blocked, and that is how my platform has always been, right? So if you're here and you're giving your opinion and it's going against what we are saying, we have no problem with that. We welcome you sharing your opinion, because your opinion may actually make sense, and we can look at it and say, well, this actually makes sense. But the disrespect, no, we're not going to tolerate that one. All right. So Unstoppable family, bless upon yourself. Thanks a lot for tuning in with us tonight, and we do appreciate it. And I even saw where Devon was saying why you're tagging the JCF. Nothing is wrong with the JCF, man. The JCF needs to be a part of this conversation, so that them can hear the plans that will be put in place for the entire Jamaican, meaning the JCF, meaning the nurses, meaning the teachers, meaning every single Jamaican. This is going to make a huge difference for every single Jamaican, whether you're the police, the doctors, the nurses, the teachers, the garbage collectors. You understand, as Mr. Patterson himself even said, the uncard pusher, every single person is going to see a change when the UIC gets in power, and that is only going to happen if we allow it to happen as Jamaican people. All right, so viewers, have a good evening. Thank you so much for joining me, and definitely, if you have not followed this page yet on Facebook or subscribed to YouTube, make sure to
Thank you, Judge. It's great to be here. We've been traveling about. We've been over in Greenville. We've been traveling throughout this part of the country. And what's good for me is it's only about 30 minutes till I get home. I'm not far from home, just down the road.